Hello, I'm Jason Davis, and welcome to a special conversation with Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis. We're going to be speaking about a number of topics, mainly around the upcoming independence celebrations and, of course, developments within the nation. Welcome once again, Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Jason. I think this is what, our third time?
Something like that.
Right.
It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Same here.
So we're going to be covering a lot of topics, lots of issues and concerns that people have been discussing. But let's talk about independence. It's our 40th independence coming up this year. And the theme for this year is growing sustainably, developing maturely, building resiliency, Independence 40. It's quite a lofty theme, and one of the aspects highlighted in the theme is sustainability. Now, how important is sustainability to the future of the nation?
Right. Thank you, Jason. Let me say good greetings to all those who are listening, all of our citizens, residents, and so forth. Sustainability is very, very important. At this point in time, the number one thrust of the government is to create a sustainable island state, especially now that we are dealing with the effects of climate change. Climate change is upon us. The temperature rise above 1.5 degrees just a few days ago. We are seeing that July is the hottest month recorded in human history since we started to record daily temperatures. And that means that we are expecting a lot of effects, such as stronger hurricanes and the insidious effects of all of the climate change issues, such as the beach issues, the sargassum issues, and so forth. And therefore, for us to really survive as a people with this existential threat, we have to be prepared. And the best way of being prepared is to build a sustainable island state that is geared to be a resilient state to deal with the effects. So sustainability is really the only way that we can continue to survive. What does a sustainable island state mean? I have said to people, it means better living, dealing with our energy issues, renewable energy, sustainable, dealing with our water issues. People should have 24/7 water, dealing with technology issues, dealing with our infrastructure to respond to the climate change matters. And that is why we are moving so quickly ahead to build a smart hospital. Because I've said, if it's one thing that should be left standing, if we are to be hit by a significant storm that can happen with climate change, it should be the hospital. And that is why we have undertaken to start it even before completing 1 year in office. So sustainability is at the center of what we are trying to create here in St. Kitts and Nevis, to create a better living environment for our people and to deal with the issue of climate change.
You just mentioned renewable energy being one of the main focus, and this topic has been talked about for quite a while. Is any sort of forward movement being made on that front?
Right, significant forward movement. For one, the geothermal that is in Nevis at this point in time. The Nevis Island Administration and the federal government, we have teamed up and we have brought in CDB, the Caribbean Development Bank, and CDB has put up $17 million as a loan grant. If energy is found, it is a loan, a low interest loan. If nothing is found, it was a grant. But we know that there's a 90+% chance of finding energy. So we are now moving full speed ahead to drill, and then after that to build out the energy plant. So we are moving steadily ahead with that. The second one is solar energy. As you know, when we came into office, there was a plan, but that plan had started even before, and we negotiated that plan. More information will come when the Minister of Energy speaks to it more specifically. But we are moving ahead with a renegotiated plan where our people would have an opportunity to own part of that company, and that is another aspect to developing our renewable energy sector. The other thing we are going to do is put out an RFP very shortly for a whole new energy plant, renewable energy, most likely solar, separate to this one that is coming on stream now. So we'll have two plants, and that one again, our people would have the opportunity to buy into it. We are also looking at wind, which is very viable, as well. So when it comes to renewable energy, we are moving full steam ahead, and we have monies already invested, one in the geothermal, two in the first solar plant, and we are looking at the second solar plant where we'll put out the RFPs, and the opportunities also to be made available for people to be able to put the solar panels on their roofs so that they too can participate in the renewable energy output or outlay, rather, that we are trying to achieve here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So we are full steam ahead when it comes to renewable energy.
Regarding that first solar plant, where will it be located?
At Needs Must.
At Needs Must.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you also mentioned water being part of the focus, and I know that there are some areas within St. Kitts that have water issues. What's being done to address those?
Well, just so you know, water is life, and the areas that you're talking about are those in my constituency specifically that are being hit the hardest: Keyon, St. Peter's. And so we have already started the process. Right now, drilling is taking place in Keyon. In less than a year, this present administration was able to restart drilling, which was stopped since about 2015, thereabout. And we know that the drilling is going full steam ahead. We are hoping for the best. We have an excellent chance of getting potable water from the site in Keyon. And the Minister of Water was there recently. I myself will visit there recently. But I'm pleased with the fact that we were able to restart the drilling of water here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And this is not just one. We have, as a strategy, we'll drill all around the country. We have mapped out where the water is, and we are going to drill. And so we'll have multiple sites over the next few years being drilled for water. The other one is desalination. We have started that within Marriott. Presently, we are getting 150,000 gallons from the desal plant at Marriott. We have now reached an agreement where we are expanding that plant to produce 450,000 gallons. What that means that that water can go to the Southeast Peninsula and the Frigate Bay area, and the water that would divert from the Bastia area, for example, to those areas would not have to be diverted. That water would stay in the Bastia area, so that would help every single area, even St. Peter's and Keyon, even without the drilling. And then the cabinet has also approved a 2 million gallon desal plant. So that is going to start its construction as well. And we expect that to be completed within a year and a half. So within a year and a half, we intend to add upwards of maybe around 3 million gallons of water. And that will take care of a lot of water issues. Because we are trying, of course, the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, that are put forward by the United Nations. One of them speaks to water. People should have access to potable water 24/7. That is the goal. And we can achieve it here in St. Kitts and Nevis because we are attacking it from multiple aspects. But I want to say to our people, let us conserve, let us use our water wisely so that we can also share in the responsibility of making sure we have enough water for all of our people. But we are already, and that is less than a year since this administration has been in office, and we have already made significant strides in the renewable energy sector and when it comes to water as well.
Okay, we're going to be talking about the administration's accomplishments in detail in a bit.
Yes.
But I want to go back to this talk about renewable energy and water. Just to clarify, you mentioned a year and a half for the desalination plant. Is that also the same timeline for the other water-related projects, the drilling and the Marriott project?
The Marriott project is going to be finished very soon. Part of it is finished. The next part for the 400 is going to finish in about a month or so, because it's already being done. So we expect it to be done in a month and a half. And the drilling is going on, which we expect to be completed in about 3 months. So those things are going to be resolved almost in the medium term this year. The other 2 million gallon is for what they talk about, the other year and a half, that it is to be completed. And then I want to add that we are also doing a storage tank type of process as well, where we will provide storage tanks to those persons who are in the hardest hit areas, such as Keyon and St. Peter's. So we'll take the storage tank to them, we'll donate them to them, and then we will have the opportunity for them to harvest water, or we'll be able to fill those tanks with potable water, and they would have that water for days. So that is one of the ways in which we can deal with it, help them to have storage in. The new houses we are going to build, we want to have storage capacity. So that storage tank policy that we are coming out with, that also will help significantly.
All righty. Now, back to independence themes. I know there are several events that are on the calendar, and it's still fairly early, but I would like to ask about one of the highlights, the Prime Minister's lecture. Have any details been hammered out for the Prime Minister's lecture as yet?
Well, of course, how we do it, we have a committee. A committee looks at the theme for the celebration, and the committee then seeks, they create a criteria for the choosing of the speaker. A speaker who is versed in that field, a speaker who can speak to the theme for the celebrations. But where we're at now, we have the committee, the subcommittees, and I'm very sure that they're already looking at who the next speaker would be. However, that has not been determined as yet.
All right. Now, switching gears, since we're talking about independence, as it were, we've seen some countries in the region cut ties with the UK, moving on to become a republic. Any plans for St. Kitts and Nevis to follow suit?
Well, what I've always said is that is up to the people, and the people will decide on that matter. And so when I'm asked about it, I alone cannot make such a decision. That question will always be on the table for people in any type of political, what I would say, arrangement like ours, where the governor is a representation of a king of another country. And so it will always be there. But I've always stated that that will be determined by the people.
But do you have a personal preference or position on should the country move away from monarchy?
Let me say why I don't expose it as much. Because I really want to see where the people are at this particular time. However, the question of independence will always be something that I would personally feel akin to. However, because this question is a question of more than me, I would always refer to the people on this particular matter.
Alrighty. Now, this year marks the anniversary of your party's, the first anniversary of the party's victories at the poll. In fact, coming up this upcoming month. What would you, looking back to the elections of last year, what would you say was the secret to your party's success?
I think that our party, strong, united, and it had a clear vision and plan, and I think that resonated with the people. And these are the simple things that make the big differences, in the sense that people were looking for a team. We call ourselves the A-team, a team that was together, a team that has had a clear plan and still has a clear plan, a team that will take the people to the next level. And that is what the people were looking for, and that is what they found in the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party's team.
Do you think you've achieved the goals you set out a year ago?
I think we have achieved more than expected. Let me say why. For example, the economy. You know that post-COVID, the economy was in, difficult situation. Why do I say that? Where was the National Bank? The first deficit, I think, in its history was not able to pay dividends in 2022. This year, the National Bank recovered and is able, made a profit and would be able to pay dividend. When we look at the Development Bank, that bank had hardly any partners. The partners had abandoned the bank because the bank had not been audited since 2018. And so partners had no trust in the Development Bank. We were able to go back to partners and show them that the governance of the bank is now back on track and in keeping with what we call good governance when it comes to banking. And we were able, through the bank, to lower student interest rate to 5%, both new loans and existing loans, saving each student tens of thousands of dollars. They're able to pay off in a shorter period of time, and while they're paying, they don't have to pay any interest. And the interest is forgiven. So if you accumulate, we estimate maybe $15,000 over the 4 years, 1/3 time, that is totally given to you as a credit. And that is a significant change. And so the banks, we say, the financial institution, Social Security is now back on track, making more than it's giving out. Very viable, solvent, strong. And so the major institutions are doing well. And when we go to the Inland Revenue, which is the government, in June was the best month ever in the history of the Inland Revenue. The best month ever in the history of Inland Revenue in Independence, St. Kitts and Nevis. And we think it is the best month ever in the history. And that was achieved, I think, because the economy in general is recovering. There's confidence, not just by our people, but also by businesses. Because one of the things I told the businesses is that I would not increase taxes unless absolutely necessary. Even though I was being advised that we need to increase the taxes, I said, let's see what will happen. Give it a chance, because there was room. And so the corporate income tax, the tax right now is at 25%. So it's lowered from 33 to 25. We did not take it back up. The unincorporated is from 4 to 2%. We did not take it back up. So therefore, it means that without increasing taxes or adding new taxes, we were able to see the best month ever in the history of Inland Revenue in June of 2023. And so the fundamentals of the economy, they are strong. And so that will give us the opportunity, however, that will give us the opportunity to do a lot of the things that we want to do. But before we got to everything that we wanted to do or promised, we had a lot of stabilization efforts to be made in the banks and the institutions, in the ministries, and to get the good governance laws in place, the basis on which we will build out everything. So some of the things will be accomplished. There would have been a delay, and for obvious reasons, we had to make sure that the first action had to be to stabilize the institutions, which we have done. However, there are threats, and I guess we'll speak to it. The CBI program, which we'll speak to later on as I give more details on that program and how that connects to other aspects of the economy and our country on a whole. But I would say that we achieve as well multiple things. One, we opened back up the country and tell the world that we were ready. We were able to pay double salary, even post-COVID. We were able to pay dividend, even post-COVID. We were able also to pay the gratuitous payment to those people who lost their jobs because they did not take a vaccine. We were able also to pay honorarium to all of our civil servants who were on the front line. So we were able to do all of that. And then, in addition, we were able to make college free for our people. We were able to start a children's fund. No child in St. Kitts and Nevis will die because of the lack of money. So our people who don't have a lot of resources, or ordinary people who wouldn't be able to send their child to get a heart surgery or some complicated brain surgery, I have put a fund in place. We have put a fund in place, and we have saved a number of children as a result. And I would say that we'll have one of the lowest infant mortality rates in the Caribbean. And I'm stretching it to be among the top 1% in the world. St. Kitts and Nevis can achieve that. We have also been able to bring down mortality rate among the pregnant women that we call maternal mortality rates, or death of pregnant women. This year, we have not recorded any, and I intend to continue to push. And I want to thank the gynecologists and the obstetricians, those in the Ministry of Health, the PS and all, the nurses, everyone, who have been working hard to ensure that our pregnant women are safe and our children are safe. So we intend to achieve those significant things. We're able to deal with the land issue and help people to get land, and we have a major announcement to make a land. We are able to put in place our housing program, which we will launch very soon. We're able also to get our hospital on the way, our new modern smart hospital, climate smart hospital, and that has to be done expeditiously. With respect to the Basseterre High School, we have started work on the Basseterre High School. We have cleaned the area. We are now going to prepare the area for that. So that is going to be done. And we have a number of capital projects that are going to roll out. The Bratcher Museum, which is on the way, the St. Peter's Main Road to complete the St. Peter's Health Center, the Connery Playfield, and a number of other things within agriculture, such as the greenhouse plan, and also 25 by 25, which was recently launched. We saw what is happening in tourism with the new flights that are coming in, JetBlue, that will come in, expansion of the cruise tourism. We had a splendid music festival. The orange economy is booming at this time. When it comes to small businesses, we're able to give over 300 small businesses loans, very low interest loans through the development bank. Gratuitous payment to the GAE workers who had lost it. The GAE workers now have their full gratuity payment. We're able to produce thousands of jobs, because remember, during COVID, a lot of persons had lost their jobs, and a lot of persons have gone back to work, and that is continuously growing. Have we reached where we want to reach? Not yet, because it's still less than a year, and we are just post-COVID, but it's building out, and we expect to get there almost by the end of this year, when all the capital projects are out, or most of them, when tourism is back, and the other aspects of the economy are back as well. So we are on a path to create a significant upward movement or mobility for our people. But apart from the material things, what about the non-material things, such as dealing with domestic violence? Women now can go to the magistrate court and get a restraining order. That has saved lives. Those are things that happen silently, and we only know there is an issue when somebody dies or ends up in the hospital. But that has saved a number of lives, let me put it that way.
Hold it. Can I jump in right there? You mean that didn't exist before?
They had to go to the High Court. And when you go to the High Court, you need a lawyer. So imagine you have a woman, COVID, not working. She has no money or very little. She's been abused, because we saw the domestic abuse went up during COVID. She wants a restraining order. She keeps calling the police. The police cannot help beyond what the law provides, right? And the police apply the law. But the police now need more, more support from the law. And so we changed that. So if a woman feels threatened, or anybody feels threatened, they can simply go to the magistrate court and ask for a restraining order. We were also able to make Rastafarian an official faith and give them all the rights therein. That is a significant achievement as well. And the good governance laws, which we intend to complete by this year. So those type of things, you'll feel the effect of them years down the road or on reflection, but we have changed those things for St. Kitts and Nevis. So what we are doing is really creating an environment for St. Kitts and Nevis to take off. That is what we are doing.
That was quite an extensive list of accomplishments. But what would you say is your proudest achievement in your first year in office?
Well, I would say it is not the tangible things. I'll say the good governance. Yes, that would take time to be fully understood and what it means for our country. But if you were to ask me to get the good governance laws passed, and I want to thank the AG and his office for the significant work, I will say that achievement had been one that I'm most proud of. But there are so many others. The children, to see those children living, that has touched significantly, and they're not dying as they used to before. As a medical doctor, that means a lot. That was a significant achievement as well. So those two things, I would say, are the two things that were, and the Rastafarian as be respected as a religion and be given all the rights therein, or let me say faith instead of religion. I would say. So to find a top one is difficult, but good governance, the children, Rastafarian, those would be my top three.
And in the same vein, what would you say was your biggest challenge, the biggest challenge for this administration?
The biggest challenge would have been CBI. CBI was the biggest challenge. Stabilizing it, making it stand as it should, for it to have that respect by our partners, and that it will engender the confidence in our partners that we really think is necessary. That was very, very challenging. It has been very challenging, but as I said during the campaign, I will deal with it head on. and I started to deal with it very early. I took tough decisions along with my team. We took tough decisions. As you know, I was really hit from different quarters because of the decisions we made, because the decisions affected people. And so I respect the fact that if you are affected, you have a right to express how you feel. But my number one objective was to make sure that St. Kitts and Nevis was protected as far as is possible by our actions. So what is happening now in the CBI space is we are not reacting at all. Remember that we had changed our SRNOs months ago, even before this talk of visa-free access and so forth came along, because we looked at it and we decided that we needed to act on it and be ahead of the game. And just recently, yesterday, we completed the regulations that we wanted to enact. And so we have basically, we launch how the CBI program is at this point in time. And it was necessary that we do that. So we are ahead of the game, and it gives us an excellent opportunity to show our partners that we are serious, that we take their concerns very seriously, but not in a reactionary way, but in a proactive way. So I think that has been the biggest challenge, and the people don't see it yet because it is still helping us to have revenues to carry out some of our programs, but there's a serious threat, and it has affected some of the ways. We know, we knew entering that there were issues, but we had to deal with sometimes more issues than we envisaged at that time. But I'm happy to say that we were bold enough, we were strong enough, we were courageous enough to take the bull by the horn, as we say here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and make the necessary changes to make sure that we protect CBI, we strengthen it, and give it the best opportunity to go forward.
Still on the topic of the CBI, there has been much talk on social media and in the public arena that
you might need some water as well.
For the moment, I'm good.
Yes.
Recently, the United Kingdom imposed visa.
Let me just say one thing, which will eliminate the plastic from ZIZ next time. But thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, so recently the United Kingdom imposed visa restrictions on Dominica, and it was surmised, rumored even, that this had some sort of connection to Dominica's own citizenship by investment program. And then there was an article that came about, I'm not quite certain written by who, that listed St. Kitts among a number of other countries that are supposedly going to be facing similar actions. First of all, is any of that true? Is St. Kitts on the chopping block when it comes to visa-free access to the UK because of our CBI program?
No, we have not received any information with respect to that. So I want to say to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, nothing has been communicated to us with respect to that. So that article, wherever it comes from, is not speaking to what is happening presently. However, I would say that St. Kitts and Nevis, since we came in, we made sure that we started to change the regulations and strengthen them so that our partners such as the UK and so forth can have much more confidence in our program. We kept in communication with the UK. The UK visited our unit. The officials, they did an audit, met with the head of the CIU, who is Mr. Martin, Michael Martin, and they shared all the information that is to be shared. So we are constantly in contact. And when we changed the regulations, again, well, not changed, but we pursued the renewing of things, we communicated with the UK as to what we were doing. We also communicated with the EU. So what we have been, Jason, is that we have been proactive and we have taken the tough decisions. So that I want the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to know that this administration has taken the steps that it could have taken to ensure that we protect our visa-free access and protect our CBI, and to engender confidence in our partners that this program is a program that they can have confidence in and there's no threat to them. We have done that because there were things that needed to be tightened upon that I wish we had done so before. And there are persons who have commented on what took place previously and so forth. But what I would say is that we took the necessary steps to make sure that the program is strong, secure, and viable. And then just recently, I was in Brussels. I am the chair of the OACS Authority. We recently had the meeting here in St. Kitts and Nevis at Marriott. I led the delegation of the Prime Ministers to meet with the Commissioner of the EU who deals with this aspect, the aspect of migration, immigration, and so forth. And so we had a meaningful discussion. And coming out of that discussion, we agreed to have a working group with persons from our side and persons from the EU. And that working group is to be put together. Immediately on returning, in short order, got a letter put together, signed by all of the Prime Ministers of the OACS who have CBI programs, and that letter was sent back to the EU, specifically to the Commissioner. And so I will travel back to the EU once again to put to help to put that committee in place so that we can work through the issues. But from St. Kitts' perspective, we were not waiting for that. We were already on a path to make sure we make the necessary changes that would protect our program, but also engender confidence in our partners, such as the EU, so that we can continue to have that visa-free access. And so we have done all that we could have done, not in a reactive way, but a proactive way to protect St. Kitts and Nevis. That I am proud of, that our team is proud of, even though it has been extremely, extremely challenging and still continues to be challenging.
I want to piggyback on the talk of the recent visit to Brussels. And in these talks with the EU leaders, let me give a little context. I know that there has been some concern from the bigger countries, particularly about CBI programs of smaller countries. Was there any sort of discussion of them expressing concerns about our CBI programs and any possible sanctions or bringing down of the hammer, the proverbial hammer, on small countries like St. Kitts and Nevis?
Well, I would say what was expressed. We had been in contact with the EU through communication, correspondence, and so forth. So we have been in touch. There were some concerns expressed as from before that we met, and we sought to address those concerns almost. But one of the things that was said is that that meeting of the Prime Ministers with the Commission and her team really was very, very important, and putting that committee together so that we can work through the issues and continue to have the best relations that we have had with the EU. So there are matters to be dealt with. St. Kitts and Nevis has gone ahead, and we have changed our SRNOs, and we did that. We are the first in the OACS to have done that, and it's because we're already on a path to get that completed. So from the OACS standpoint, we are moving ahead, and from St. Kitts' standpoint, St. Kitts and Nevis' standpoint, we have put in place already the changes that we think would protect the CBI program, but apart from that would engender confidence in our partners. And that is the best we can do at this point, and to continue the dialogue and to return to work through the committee process and hope for the best after that. But people can be rest assured here in St. Kitts and Nevis that we have been very forthright with making sure we do what we have to do.
Okay, and just to be clear, these changes to the SRNOs, and I think that's what standard rules and operations, these changes came about following the discussions with the EU leaders?
No, we had started, remember we'd been in contact with them. For example, last year when we came into office, the EU, I met a document on visa access to the EU and to the UK. So I want the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to know that no stone is needed to ship to the larger countries of the CARICOM. Why shouldn't they have that? So that is where the question is. So the CET is not going to be applied to products that people will use, and those products will not be the only products available. There will be products maybe from outside of the CARICOM. For example, let's choose one, pasta. If you have a good pasta come from outside, the CET is not going to be applied to the CARICOM. We are striving for and to allow CARICOM-based businesses to do well. Let me add something to that. I asked the Hamia from RAM, so that businesses can have opportunity to lower the cost and not carry up the cost of food. We also subsidize businesses their electricity. We subsidize electricity for everybody in St. Kitts and Nevis by the millions. I want to say that, by the millions. And so I encourage our people that if you can pay, you know, some people have very difficult situations, we have to admit that, but those who are in a position, encourage you to pay, because when you pay, Skellig can service, you know, can carry out their service of making sure you have electricity. So it has to be a win-win situation. They give me a service, I pay for that service, so Skellig is in a position to continue to serve. Nonetheless, top-notch, and they are the ones who are benefit. When we cut all the taxes, we want them to have cheaper food. We want them to have cheaper, you know, on where 25 to 30% of the budget is used for social protection. And so I want to thank the people for their support. I want to ask them to continue to give opportunity to put in place the policies that we promised. All of them will not be enacted at the same time. Some of them might have to be delayed when we do them, especially when you find